Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. I'm Tony Lynch. I'm the host of this podcast, and I want to say for everybody who's going to be tuning in, thank you for always tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor, head on over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. And as always, this is for educational purposes only. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. And as always, I have an amazing guest for you guys. And hopefully you guys get a lot out of it and, enjoy, engage with us as we go. Lisa, thank you for tuning in on Instagram. It's great to see you. Thank you. And for everyone else, thank you guys for tuning in. And without further ado, I'm going to bring up my next guest, Mr. Darren Archer. Darren, how you doing?
I'm good. I love your intro. I feel like I'm in a Die Hard movie. Countdown. I was thinking, when's it going to be? The Nakatomi building or the other one? I was thinking, oh my God, I've got to look like I'm some kind of hero. It's good to be here, Tony. Good to be here.
I'm glad that you're here, brother. I'm glad that you're here. Now, before that we get started, do me a favor, tell people who you are and where you're from.
Okay. So my name's Darren Archer. I live in England. I was born and raised in Nottingham, but now I live in Leicestershire. I am a serving police officer in the Metropolitan Police Force for the next year and a half. And I'm here today to talk about, I suppose, my life going through grief and loss. That's me.
All right. And you also are a counselor as well, right?
Well, I'm sort of learning the ropes, Tony. I'm retiring in a year and a half, and I think through what I've seen through work and what I've gone through myself, and especially being a man, I know that men are completely rubbish at talking about grief and letting it out, being honest with people, and the vulnerable stage of a man is not good. We all don't want to talk about stuff.
Right.
It's very rare we can phone a friend and say, look, I'm really struggling. I'd rather, I did the same. I sat in a corner or in the bedroom on my own without wanting to talk to my sisters. Just literally, I felt like I was just wanted to be in a cave on my own.
Right.
That sense of seclusion for me was a thing. We're actually now thinking about it and retrospectively, I wished I'd taught more.
And isn't that the truth? Now let's backtrack because most of everything that you've said, most men out there, we're being taught this at a very early age.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about your earlier years leading up to you becoming a police officer.
Okay, so as a child, similar to yourself, Tony, so I went on a school trip when I was 10 and I was sexually abused by a teacher. And luckily, another teacher intervened, so it didn't get too bad. But for me, it was still a massive incident, which I never told my parents. I didn't speak to my sisters about it. I just kept it in. And as you grow older, you put it to the back of your mind. But then every now and then it rears its ugly head and you sort of feel ashamed, but also you feel frustrated that you didn't say anything when you could have done.
Yeah.
So that's my first incident of not trusting the world, if you like, as a child. And then things went on. I just got on with schooling. I didn't particularly like school after that. And then in my first loss was my mum. So at 20 years of age, my mum had cancer and she went through it. And I'd say fortunately, because it wasn't a long process, she died within 6 months. But to be a 20-year-old man or boy grown into a man, the loss was massive for me. I was very close to my mum, so not having that person around was like a big cog in the factory works, if you know that. The mainstay is your parents. So to lose one of those parents and to see your other parent be so lost and upset as well was just tragic for me. And typically I'll only live with my dad at the time, so he was suffering and he he didn't really talk to me about it, and I didn't really talk to him about it. Typical man syndrome. It's just, again, I wish we'd sat down and spoke about it, the loss, but we didn't. So that was that. And then my dad, he'd already suffered a heart attack, but then he recovered. But then 5 years later, my dad died. So I'd lost both parents by the age of 25, which, again, the grief side of it. But luckily, I had my sisters, and they kept me going. And you get on with your life. And obviously, at 25, your life's just beginning. You start to go out and you're meeting people, and you're just living your life. But when you're on your own, you ruminate, you think about what you've lost. And I didn't get any counselling back then. In fact, I don't think there was that much counselling around back in the day. So I'm 58 now, so back then I think men just had to just deal with it. What was this? Man up. You need to man up.
That's that term right there.
Yeah.
I've seen, including myself, right? I've been told to man up, that, men don't do this and men don't do that and men don't do this, and, or it's weak, or, you considered a sissy or something like that, right? Always taught, oh, women don't want a man like that. Women don't want a sensitive man and things like that. It was always something, that term man up. Now I look back on it and doing the work that I do with men, but also seeing what that phrase has done.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of, I've heard of a lot of men taking their lives. I've heard of a lot of men struggling mentally, right? Well, I just got to man up because don't nobody care about what I'm going through, or anything like that. That is a phrase that I really wish people would erase out of the dictionary. No more manning up. No more should we have to suffer, because what happens, like, everybody wants us to man up. Everybody wants this strong, independent, alpha male and things like that. Until you get one, then you realize that we're emotionally detached. We've been damaged by the world.
Yeah.
Right? We've been taught that we can't trust anyone. And then they say, oh, we want an emotionally intelligent man or emotionally aware man. Well, stop teaching us not to have those emotions, and maybe you will get that, right?
Yeah, it's a catch-22 scenario.
Right. Where's the give from that? I want to get your thoughts on that, because that phrase there has damaged so many relationships.
Yep.
Right. Even with men, right? We get told that we're not supposed to talk to one another about what's going on. As you mentioned earlier, there was no therapy for us, right? Or if it was, it wasn't for us. That's what we was told.
Exactly. Right. So for me, that phrase came up more in the police force. So when you see stuff, like somebody's committed suicide on a train line, and you go to the aftermath of seeing this incident. Years ago, there wasn't any focus on healing from it or any sort of counselling for police officers.
Mm-hmm.
Or you see a car accident, and these people have died in car accidents. You deal with it, but you're still a human being, and you come away from it numb, because it's like, I've actually seen this. This is not on the TV screen. It's not a movie. This has actually happened. And you sit there and you reflect on it and think, oh, I wish I could speak to somebody. But and I say back then because things have changed, but when I first started as a police officer, there wasn't any form of counselling for police officers. There was a debrief about the incident, about how did we deal with it, and this, that, and the other, but there was no aftercare, apart from a colleague saying, oh, you'll be all right, man up. And that was a classic for me, because it really resonated, that it was like, no, I don't want to man up. I want to sit in the toilet and cry because I've just seen a woman die that was pregnant in a car crash, and it's just not good. So for me, there needs to be more, like you say, it needs to be erased. That phrase needs to just be totally struck off there. off the box of trying to help people. It doesn't work.
Okay, my question would be, what do you think the disconnect is with people when it comes down to understanding how men handle our everyday life, going through the traumas and how we deal with it?
So you're asking me how we should deal with it, or?
Well, what do you think the disconnect is, and what are some ideas of how to help others understand how we grieve?
Well, for a start, Tony, your podcast is one, and there's many out there where men can tap into this.
Mm-hmm.
There's also local, where I live in Leicestershire, these local groups where men can meet up and go for country walks or fishing or something that's outdoors. You're getting some fresh air, vitamin D, and you're speaking to people that are going through it or have gone through it.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows that you're not on your own. So for me, I found that when I was in that deep depression, which I need to talk about later because it's further on down my story,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was on my own. I didn't realise that I'm not on my own. There's thousands, millions of people that have got anxiety and depression, but they need to move forward and try and gain the help. But as men, typically, it's like, sisters and my wife to be, she's on the phone, she's arranging things. We're rubbish at arranging things. Like even going out for a drink, I'll have a friend that might say, "Oh, well, we'll meet up sometime." We'll go, "Yeah, okay," and that is it. There's no, let's arrange it. Let's do it now. Let's put a date in the diary. Men are rubbish at that.
Yeah,
I think we need to be a bit more structured in when we meet a friend. So, like, let's do it. I mean, obviously, Tony, this is different because it's a podcast, but this was arranged, and it was like, wow, it can be done. Men can arrange things, and I don't think men aren't very good at it. So the disconnection, I think, is lack of communication. Men aren't very good at communicating. We still live in the dark ages where we've got our own cave. We'll go out, hunt a gathering, we'll come back, light a fire, and then we're done. We're not very good at communicating. It's as if our prerequisite is to just look after other people and not ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think we are givers and we are protectors, but the one person we don't protect is ourselves.
That's very true. And I want to add to what you just said, because we as men, we do suck at communicating, right? But I think the problem is that we get told not to do or not to feel a certain way, that we just don't know how to articulate it. And the way that we actually handle it is misinterpreted by a lot of people. It's perception versus reality, right? You see a man out there angry, irritated, frustrated, lonely, drinking or doing drugs or homeless, talking to himself and things like that. In a lot of ways, we feel more comfortable doing this to ourselves than to feel as if we're a burden on everyone else, right? And the one thing that I've seen, and I don't know if all men feel this way, but I know majority of the men do feel this way. When a man feels as if he's losing value in his home, he feels it's less than, right? He feels as if his place is no longer there. And we begin to eliminate our presence in that home or from around those individuals for their, as you said, for their protection, right? Because at some point this thing has to come out, and so we begin to act out, and it's so simple that people miss the little pieces. They miss the little pieces. They don't hear the language. And this is why I always say when it comes down to men and grief, it's like a foreign love language that no one else speaks. Now, we can be around each other and have gone through similar things. And it's the words that we use, which is not very direct. But if you're around the right person, they will look at you and go, okay, I hear you, right? And
Yeah.
that will actually spark a different sort of conversation and understanding
Yeah. Yeah.
about how we show up,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
oftentimes, it's like, wow, did this really just happen? Is this really somebody I can talk with?
Yeah.
And things like that. And those just become really good people around you.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, when it comes down to having like a platform like this podcast and other podcasts out there, in a lot of ways, men get to see other men, but women and children get to see us speaking openly
Yeah.
about the things that have happened to us. Like,
Yes.
the one big thing that most people never believe that happens to us is that we do get molested when we're children, right?
Yeah.
But no one wants to talk about that.
No.
They don't want to talk about the mental damage that it does to us,
Mm.
or the emotional damage that it does to us, right? And,
Yeah.
and again, most people like to say broken. I like to say, we're just deeply hurt,
Yeah.
right? I want to be honest with myself. Now, I never criticize anybody for the terminology that you use. Use
Mm.
what works for you, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, it's eliminate the brokenness, because as we find, or as I have found, when you call a person broken and they begin to believe that they're broken, they begin to act it out.
Exactly.
But when you change the terminology to, I am hurt, this dude is really hurt, it changes how they move within the path of finding areas to heal.
Yeah, it's a mindset, isn't it? So
Right. It's a mindset.
the wording, if you're going down the road of broken, you immediately think like there's a glass, you're in pieces,
Right.
and that is it. But when you say hurt, emotionally hurt, it resonates more because it's a feeling that
Hmm.
you get from an incident that you've had to go through,
Yeah.
and getting over it can take years and years and years. In fact, like yourself, Tony, you probably put it to the back of your mind what you went through as a
Oh, yeah.
child, like I do with the teacher. And I still find it, I still find that particular incident, I become very angry to think this person was in a position of trust.
Hmm.
He's taken children away and he knew that this was his opportunity and he took that opportunity. And then I think, how many more times had that gone on? And then I used to question myself, I should have said something because he might have stopped. So there's all these little things going off in my head. If I did that, I could have done this. But going back to the broken thing, I totally agree again. It's another word that is quite damning in a way because it's saying this person is not fixable. They're broken. You put it in the bin. Whereas hurt is a really good word because it means, yeah, they're hurt, but you can build on that and make them stronger.
Hmm. And
So, yeah.
I've had a podcast where I told her, where I did say that to the lady I was speaking with, and she came back. She was like, "No, you're broken," and I was like, "No." I was like, "See, again, I respect you in the words that you choose, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But for me and for most men, those are some words you just can't. It's preferred not to use, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
men, we are very simple. And this is why I say this, because it's most individuals, women or other people, parents, think, often believe that men don't feel certain things, and that's why a lot of times we do get mistreated or be misunderstood.
Yeah.
And that's not the case.
No.
Most men feel very deeply. We just don't know how to articulate it, right? So now my question is, going back a little bit, because having gone through a childhood like that, it does damage. It does a lot of damage in how we grow into young men. Do you think that it would have made a difference if you had said anything, or or would it have just been the outcome? Because I know for me, now I speak from personal experience, no one believed me. I was told to man up. I was told to stop lying. I was told that it doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? That I'm supposed to protect my younger sister.
Yeah.
And once I realized that, the world changed for me, right? Yeah. And not only did I put it in the back of my mind, but I developed a mindset of I have to survive in a world where I now understand that there's people capable of doing really bad things
to
other people. And in order for me to survive, I have to be able to be worse than them. So if they try something with me, I have to disconnect my emotions to be able to hurt them. A lot more than what they're going to hurt me.
Yeah.
And so I developed a lot of trust issues. I mean, even now, being where I am, I still have things that I work out. I still have problems with people touch me in certain ways. You know, women, you know what I'm saying? I do have some really good friends, right? I have some really good friends. And sometimes they like, hey, give me, I'm like, hey, whoa, not right now.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, no, not right now. Please. You know what I'm saying? Because what's going to happen is that you're going to trigger me. And right now, where my mindset is, may not be the best thing for you.
No. I think for me, as a 10-year-old, I didn't think it was feasible to say anything because one, he was a teacher, and two, you know, for a 10-year-old to say to a parent, "Oh, this teacher's," you know, grab my hand and put him in his trousers, and I felt his penis. I don't think they would have believed me for a minute.
Right.
So to this day, I think I did the right thing. But then as an adult, I think no, because I and this is the thing. So having two children, when they was at school, I always used to say to them, if anybody touches you, I need to know about it. Oh, and that was another thing. I always used to think, if I'd have told my dad, he would have gone absolutely, you know, as a male parent, well, even as a female parent, you would have lost it and gone down to the school, and he probably would have got arrested.
Yeah.
You know, because my dad was very direct, and he wouldn't have just said, "We're calling the police." He would have tried to deal with it himself.
Right.
And I could then see my dad being in prison for GBH or something like that, grievous bodily harm, or because I know that's what my dad would have done. You know, nobody's touching my son or my sisters if that was the case. So actually, I'm sort of pleased I didn't do it. There's always that mixed emotion tone with it.
Yeah.
The what ifs, and this is another thing in life, isn't it? With grief, what ifs. You know, what if they were still here? What if they didn't get in that car that day? There's always these questions about why did it happen. So we always question things like that. So for me, but going back to for me as a father, when I became a father, I was very paranoid about the girls going on trips. So I had trust issues with teachers mainly. But to have two children only within a year apart, it was as if they were both looking out for each other anyway. So I did let them go on trips, but I always used to say, don't let the teachers touch you in any way. And if they do, I want to know.
Yeah. So, I'm right there with you. You know, unfortunately, you know, my son passed away at an early age.
Yeah.
But I find myself having gone through that experience and having to understand what it took for me to get to where I am now. I am very protective over other people's kids.
Sure.
I may not say anything or approach them because I never want a parent to look at me as if I'm trying to do something to their kids. But whenever I see kids, I always have an eye on them, right? I'm always looking around to see who's around. Are your parents paying attention to you? Right? Yeah. Because if they're not, I'm watching you, right? If I see something out of the ordinary, if I see someone approaching those kids, and I've done this several times where, you know, I'm gonna share this little story with you. I was at a local fast food restaurant, and I was waiting on my order to get done. I'm watching the kids play around, and they're in the little playpen and everything. And there was this little bitty girl, little bitty thing. She had on a little sundress. It's about late spring, so it's warm outside. She has this little ponytail, cute as a button, cute as a button, and she's running around and she's playing and everything. And her mom and two of her friends was on the other side of the restaurant. Now I'm noticing this guy watching this little girl. Now, he's not paying attention to me, but I'm paying attention to him because I'm situationally aware. And so he started moving to different chairs, getting closer to this little girl. And so when he got close enough, I kind of walked over and I locked arms with him and I walked him to the bathroom. He goes, oh, I was like, walk with me. I need you to walk with me. Right. And I got him in the bathroom. I let him go. I said, look here, you're going to have to leave, or I'm not going to let you leave. I paid attention to what you did. And you was moving kind of shady, brother.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I want you to leave the restaurant before I don't let you leave. Because if I don't let you leave, not only am I going to hurt you, but I'm going to call the police. You're going to jail. Then I'm going out there and tell that little girl's parents.
Yeah, yeah.
And he just kind of looked. I said, when I walk out of here, I'm going to be paying attention. I need you to walk out the door. And he walked out the door. And he knew that. And he knew he was caught.
Yeah,
and I went back over there and I sat down. And the little girl, it was crazy because this is when you think that no one's paying attention to you. That little girl came over, sat down in the chair next to me, and I got my food and I was sharing my fries with her. And she looks at me. She goes, thank you. She gets up and she goes back and she starts playing again. I didn't say anything. I was like, oh, okay, but it was so secretive that it wasn't worth telling the parents, that the little girl saw it.
Yeah, but this is it, isn't it? Your past experience has put you in that position where you're so honed in on people that are out there to do harm to kids, and you're like, and I'm the same. I mean, Lisa will tell you, I'll be in a shop and she'll be talking, and my eyes are drifted, and I'm watching not just children, but I suppose it's the job I'm in. People that just don't look right, 50 people that. So, but I'm with you on that one. So good on you, Tony.
And I always feel that it's our duty to make sure that our children are okay. Right.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
And anyone else for that matter, women that's walking around may not be paying attention to their environment, their and things like that. Just being very situationally aware.
Exactly. They're unaware. They're innocent. They don't understand about all this, what's going off.
Right.
So it's good to have an extra pair of eyes.
Always, because sometimes people. I think people think that we live in a world that these things do not happen until it happens.
Yeah,
and then they're shocked, right? Yeah. And so sometimes you don't have to say anything; you just have to be present.
Yeah,
and make sure that that you are upholding your end of the bargain of being a protector to the individuals that are around you, right?
Exactly.
In hopes that someone would do the same.
Yeah, I'm sure there are people out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I meet good people all the time. I do. I meet good people all the time. So I guess my next question is, what was your decision? What was your deciding factor of becoming a police officer?
Money. It's really weird. It's like one of those things, like when you're growing up, so I want to be a fireman, I want to be a police officer. Mm-hmm. It was only because I'd got married. The wage I was on at the time wasn't great. And I can remember sitting there at the job I was in, and I opened the Metro, which is like a free paper. And it said Metropolitan Police taking on new police officers. And I sort of smiled at myself and I thought, could I do that job? So anyway, I went and did the 2-day interviews to get through, which I did. Which, again, I still can't believe I did it. And then I had to do 3 months at Hendon Police College. in London. And at the time, my ex-wife, she was home with a 2-year-old and a baby. And it was like, oh, what have I done? You know, but I did it as a father. I did it for the right reasons, so that we could have a better life.
Yeah.
You know, there's more money coming in. So that's why I did it. But when I got into it, Tony, to be honest, I absolutely loved it because I was a people person. So the first route I wanted to go down was community policing.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to be an old school police officer, going out, talking to people, getting to know the local shop owners, you know, proper old school.
Right.
And it was great. And I did that for 3 years. And then my line manager said, Darren, you need to move to something else. You can't just carry on doing this for the rest of your life. So I then went on to response work. So I was driving, doing the 999 calls. And that's when you see everything. And then again, that makes you appreciate your own life because you see right to the other end of the scale, or you see incidents where people are lost and you have to knock on the door and tell somebody the bad news that somebody's died. Which again, that's the worst part of policing.
Yeah,
because you're never ready for that. You know, that reaction, even if it's an old person that, you know, the children know that the parents are dying, they're in their 80s or whatever. Even so, when you have to knock on that door, you still have the same expression and the same response.
right.
And you never get over that, I don't think, as a police officer.
As a person, you know,
exactly.
And thank you for serving and being one of the good police officers out there. There's been a lot of things going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
And things have been changing. Things are being exposed, and you know, it's what people, you know, like, and I hate to say it, but people in impoverished communities like the ones I grew up in, you know, we've seen our fair share of the bad police officers, the ones that beat you up, and you know, hell, I've had to take a ride with them a couple times where they beat me up and threw me off in a neighborhood where I wasn't supposed to be at, hoping that they would kill me. I've been robbed by the police. Yeah, I've been robbed by the police. You know, I mean, hell, when they convicted me, they charged me. I got a charge that I never even had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
Right, never even happened. But the cop, and this is what the cop had told me. He goes, "No one's going to believe you. You're a gang member. I'm a cop. Who you think they're going to believe, me or you?" And he was right. They convicted me and sentenced me to 5 years for a crime I never committed. And I saw that cop when I got out. And his words to me were, "The streets was a lot quieter when you was locked up again. Let's see if we can't get you on a bigger charge."
Wow.
I looked at him. I was like, "Oh no." I was like, "Man, you're not getting me anymore. Now, no, we're not doing this anymore." Yeah. No one ever believed me. No one ever believed anyone that was in my situation, right? Now, nowadays, I work with police officers, and I meet some really good men out there. I meet some really good women out there, right? Yeah. Once in a while, you meet one or two of them that.
Tell me, the thing is, in any career,
right,
you're going to get the bad apples.
Yeah,
and I'm fortunate to say that within the 22 years I've been in, I've never come across one. Whether it's response officer, and trust me, you know, I wouldn't accept it because they should be in it for the right reasons.
Right.
I know of a person that was arrested and got kicked out for actually stealing property. But all in all, I'd say that I've been very fortunate with the people I've worked with. But there are out there, you know, you look in the news every day, there's always somebody being arrested that's a police officer.
Yeah.
And I don't think. I don't think.
No, go ahead.
I think society is what it is. You're always going to get one that's got through the net to become a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
And is it ever going to change? No, it never will change.
Yeah.
I can't see how it could change.
I think it takes a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work, right? And coming from a place where I was a criminal, I was a gangbanger, I was a drug dealer, I was all of those things that, that would put me in jail, right? You know what I'm saying? Before I came who I am, but I don't regret my life. I do not regret my life, and just on the other side, like I had the opportunity to go into the military at a very early age, and I chose not to. And my mom asked me why. I said, well, there's no sense of me going to a foreign country and fighting a war when we have a war going right here off in the streets. And that's when the gangs really made sense to me, right? And I got in when I got into the gangs, and this is going to sound crazy. When I got into the gangs, it was because of what it represented in our communities, right? We got together to police our own because they'd gotten so bad.
Like we were like, hey,
right. Yeah. And so we looked out for our elderly. We looked out for our children. We made sure that our stores and stuff was protected, right? You just wasn't going to go and do stupid stuff, right? If you hurt a child or a woman, we were coming to get you, and we're going to take you to the police station when we get done. We'll drop you off. We'll put you out in front of the police station. Afterwards, right? But we took care of our own. And that's the reason, that's what attracted me to it in the first place. It wasn't the whole looking for a family. I have a big, beautiful family, right? That loved me, and yes, like with every family, we had our own things that we had to deal with, But
well, Tony, you see how you say that? This actually links in quite well with grief, because a lot of young people in London that have lost relatives, and the gangs over here totally different to back in our day. They're very resourceful in recruiting young people that are vulnerable because of loss.
Right.
And they'll get them in and introduce them into the gang society, and they'll give them things like new trainers and whatever. But then they get them to do county lines where they give them drugs to go to the coast to sell or whatever. So actually, they're preying on the vulnerable kids that have lost, or in backgrounds that haven't got a lot of money, and so deprivation and that. So for them, it's like, well, mum's at work, I'm on my own, I may as well join a gang and become a part. But the gangs aren't like your gangs used to be, Tony, where they looked after their own communities. It's just all about monetary and material objects. So like driving around in BMW, Mercs, and looking good, and they're doing the videos and all that. But there is a lot of kids that are being classed as trafficked because they are going through grief and they're vulnerable.
Yeah.
So that's another aspect of grief, I suppose.
Yeah, nowadays that's what it's like now, right? So back in the day when I first joined, versus to what when I walked away from everything, I got to see the change of generations. I got to see the change of how everything just kind of switched around.
Yeah, right? The dynamic is totally different on it.
Yeah, and so as an older gentleman, or what you may call OG in the hood. I watched it, and then I started seeing the younger dudes coming up, and they were killing the older dudes. Right, for a name. And it wasn't that they were going after rivals; they were killing the ones. Yeah, they were killing the ones that was trying to teach them. And I was like, oh, whoa. Yeah. And then I started seeing the younger dudes start to kill each other. And again, they wasn't going after rivals. As a matter of fact, more individuals were friends with their rivals than they were with the people in their own hood. And I was like, man, this is crazy, right? Because he just shot old dude for a girl, or he just killed old dude for $5. Like this is change. And so when I decided that I was going to get out, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. But of course, I had over 24 years in.
Yeah.
So, and like yourself, I want to backtrack a little bit. Like yourself, after seeing so many people die, I've carried a lot of people a lot of my friends to their own parents' house and like, hey, before anybody comes, here's your son,
Yeah.
and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So I've seen it, man, and those things don't really go anywhere.
No.
They're there with you for the rest of your life. And I've carried a lot of people. I've stayed there, and I've had to lie to them when they were lying there, um, taking their last breaths. Like, man, it's gonna be okay, man. Oh man, tomorrow, man. Yeah, tomorrow, man. We're gonna do this, and I knew.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
carry those words with you. You carry those images with you. And I can only speak from that aspect, but I can only imagine the things that you've had to carry with you, being a police officer and going into rescue and EMT and things like that, right? The things
Yeah.
that you've had to see and the conversations that you had to have,
Yeah.
and we can relate in those different areas because I just seen it from a different side. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got similar paths, but
Yeah.
on different sides, if you like.
Right. Right.
These are circumstances, basically. But here we are,
Yes.
fighting for the good,
here
common
we here
man.
we are. Now, now you had mentioned something. I want to touch base on it because
Yeah,
as a police officer, you you was married,
yeah,
correct?
yeah.
And you were living in London at the time, I
Yeah,
believe.
so living on the outskirts of well, it was more of a village in Surrey, which is just outside of London.
Hmm.
In fact, it's not far from where The Holiday was made, if you've ever watched that Christmas
I
film, The
have.
Holiday. Yeah, so Sheer, the village, it was about 3 villages away, and it used to take me about 40 minutes to get to work. So, as a dad, I was thinking, look, having 2 children, this is a lovely place to bring up 2 children in a village environment. We could walk to school, etc. Sorry, excuse me, the mics. So, for me, it was as a dad, yet again, it's all about safety for your kids and a lovely environment. I grew up in Nottingham in a terraced house. I don't know if you understand what a terraced house is. It's a very small, like a line of houses. Load of friends. But then going into like a semi-rural village was just amazing. As a dad, it was like, yeah, I've done it. I've managed to create this safe environment for my kids to grow up. So I was ticking the boxes as a dad. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But then you actually had to go through a divorce too, right?
Yeah. So
Like,
yeah, I'd been married to her for my ex for 20 years, 21 years. We had 2 children, and at the time, the oldest was 16 and the youngest was 14. Things wasn't working out. We, started to move apart, and I decided I was going to leave. We used to have a lot of arguments about petty things.
mhm.
Got to the stage where I did say to my ex, look, this is not a good environment for the kids growing up, because it was literally, like the voice was very high, shouting and ranting and raving about just minor stuff. And to be honest, I had enough, Tony. So I'd gone away for 2 weeks at my sister's house. I came back just to see the girls, and my wife took the girls to school, which was very strange because they normally walk to school. And as soon as she got back, got into an argument. And at this stage, I was like, no, I don't need this. I'm going to go. So I still have my suitcase with me. Next minute, she's on the phone. Yeah, he's just hit me. Yeah, he's still here. And I knew what she'd done. She
Yeah.
called the police. So with that, I walked outside. I called a friend who lived local. He came and sat outside with me. And within 5 minutes, the Surrey police turned up. One had gone in to speak to my ex. One stood with me. And I said, look, whatever happens, you're going to need to arrest me, because otherwise she's going to think we've been in coots about I didn't do anything, so don't arrest me. So actually, you're going to need to arrest me. So there's no sort of investigation into why you didn't get me nicked, right? So anyway, the guy comes out. He says, well, apparently you grabbed her by the hand, you twisted her hand, and this, that, and the other. I'm going to arrest you for common assault. So I was arrested. And that was a surreal thing, Tony. To be the other side of that cell was like surreal. I was like, what? But I was calm because I knew I hadn't done nothing wrong. So I laid there, and at that point, I knew that was it. And it was literally, the wedding was down the toilet. So I took my ring off and I put it in the toilet. And for me, it was like a definitive moment. Like, we can't argue anymore. It'd gone on for years, the arguing and the pettiness. And for me, that was like, that's it. You've actually got me arrested for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so that was that. And then, I don't know, it must have gone on for about 6 or 7 months. She then took me to court, family court. I didn't have a penny to rub together. So I went to court. She came from a rich family, so they was paying for all these court appearances. Within that, she used this, oh yeah, he hit me. I didn't contest it, so there was no point. Anyway, it cost me £35,000 to walk away with nothing. And the fact she'd also alienated me through that time by saying, oh, your dad hit me. So the girls didn't want to speak to me either. Now, the finance side of it didn't hurt, but not to be able to see the girls, it just made me crumble. I mean, it wasn't like as if there was a court order saying you can't see them. It's just the fact they didn't want to talk to me. So leading up to that, we were best friends. We were like more like friends than a dad and 2 daughters. We'd do everything together. You know, like when we went on holiday, I was the entertainment manager. I would always make them laugh and go swimming with them and whatever. And then it was just nothing. And I can always remember sitting in the car, driving this car on my own. And it was the loneliest place I could ever imagine. Because before I had 2 dogs, 2 children and a wife. And there's just me sitting on my own. And it really sunk in that this was massive. And for me, that was a massive loss. You know, massive.
Yeah.
So I had to find somewhere to live. So from having a house, I was having to rent a room with two women. One was a nurse, one was a teacher. And I just couldn't communicate with them. I was literally in like this fog, this brain fog. I just couldn't fathom what had gone on. You know, from knowing a woman for 20 years to do something like that to get me arrested and then tell the kids, you know, he's a bad dad and whatever. So I just got on with life. The only thing that kept me going is work, to be honest. Work's always been a rock for me because it was the only thing I had in my life that was consistent, that had never affected me, as in, you know, emotionally. I mean, I know you see incidents, but not personal to you. So time had gone on. I'd seen the girls, and then I didn't see the girls. They'd text me, then nothing for months. So they'd ghost me for a bit. And emotionally, it's just shocking. Because you never know where you stand with them. You know, one minute you think, yeah, we're back on track, and then something happened. Like Christmas is a classic, and Lisa, you know, my wife to be, she'd tell you, it'd be, I'd get contact from them just before Christmas. Christmas Day, Boxing Day, when they're with the mum, I'd hear nothing at all from them. And then the 27th, I'd get a call. You all right, Dad? As if nothing had happened. As if I'd never existed. Anyway, so probably in 2019, I was living on my own. I was going through a really bad depression and anxiety. To the stage of antidepressants. I had medication because I had an heart attack in 2008, which was a minor thing. But I sat there and I thought, is this all I've got? Just a job.
Yeah.
And I'd been into this ruminating, and as typically as a man, I didn't speak to anybody. I had counselling, but that wasn't working because they just sat there nodding. And it was like, yeah, you've had the training, but you don't understand what I'm going through. So I was angry with them because it was just like a ticky box exercise. And so I thought, I've had enough of this life. So I took a load of my medication, prescribed medication. And I don't know what happened. I mean, I don't know how I got to hospital, who had called the ambulance. But anyway, I woke up with all my sisters around me. And I'd been in there for 3 days in the ICU ward. So I'd attempted suicide, but I don't want to say failed because I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
And now looking back, I'm pleased it didn't happen because life has turned around.
Right.
Life has changed. And if there's anybody out there that's feeling shit, and I will say the word shit, and feeling so low that they want to do something, like take their own life, you get better. You don't, you won't believe it now because you're right down there, but things will get better. And just talk to people. Talk to people. Even if it's Tony and myself, even if it's an email, talk to somebody. Don't feel like you're on your own. There's a lot of men out there that are going through this where it's they can't speak to the children because of parental alienation. It's a common thing at the moment, and in fact England's only really picking up on it. I know America, you've known about it for years and tried to deal with it, but England only seem to be getting on board now with the alienation side of it.
I don't think anybody's really ahead of a whole lot of things. And the reason why I say this is because I've been doing this work with men for just over 5 years now.
Yeah.
And that took me a long time to even make any sort of ripple in the water, right? So for the first year and a half, I was just trying to figure things out. How can I do groups and how can I connect with other people? How can I learn? And and I didn't have any social media, so people's like, go on social media. And then COVID happened, so that's how I built up all of mine. And I was just pretty fortunate, Well, actually, I'm gonna tell you the truth. When I first started this, I met a lot of people that closed the doors in my face.
Right.
And the only thing I wanted to do was connect with them, to network with them, to learn, to collaborate, to try to do something good, right?
Yeah.
And many people closed the doors in my face, man. They were like, oh, here's another guy, he wants to try to work with men. And, and it was so hard. It was so hard. And only thing I wanted to do was help, right? I wanted to learn so I can do something.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do. It was a struggle. And this was, let's see, when things finally started turning around was probably 2020, the beginning of 2022.
Right.
Right. And so here we are, 2024, right? So actually, been doing the work 5 years, but only 2 years have I been able to actually do something. Right.
But with your resilience, Tony,
right,
and your positive attitude and sticking with it, here you are. Because again, it's the man thing where we're very good at just like walking back on things, aren't we? Standing back.
Yeah.
Sticking with it and going, do you know what? I'm going to stick with this. A lot of us go, oh, I just can't be bothered. It's a man thing, or maybe a percentage of men do that. It's like, oh, not something else on the list. Whereas you, my friend, you stuck with it, and you've come out the other end, and you're doing a cracking job.
You know what it was, though? Here's the crazy part. In 2022 is when I first started the first ever Global Grief Conference. It's only because I started making all of these connections, and I seen like a huge gap where people wasn't coming together. Like there was such a competition out there, And I
Right.
never wanted to compete with anyone.
No.
I just wanted to see us all come together because I saw what could be if we
Yeah.
came together and the impact that we could have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So January 2022 is when I came through and I said, and I told some buddies of mine, I said, man, I want to do a global grief conference. I know all of these people and I want to bring us together because I want more people to know who we are and know who they are. And it was such a foreign concept to people that someone would want to do something without asking for anything in return.
Yeah.
And I never wanted anything from anyone. I wanted you to come in and just do what you need to do, do what you do best.
Yep.
That's all I want. Showcase who you are and have fun and just, like kind of like come and rock with us. And that's how the Global Grief Network was formed.
Yeah.
And then the next following year, in 2023, it became an annual thing.
Yeah.
It's been this beautiful thing every year. Rachel, how you doing, my friend? What's up with you? How you doing? Thank you for joining in, and everybody on Instagram that's been tuning in as well. You guys, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Yeah, interact with us, right? I'm talking,
and feel free, feel open. Don't think you're going to upset me, because for me, yet again, that helps me. Talking about it openly,
right?
And
we've been talking about everything from childhood trauma, being molested, him being a police officer, the things that he's seen, being arrested as a police officer, going through a divorce, and we're still diving deeper into his story. So you guys, ask your questions, get them in there, right? We'll be sure to answer them as we go.
I'll tell you what. The weird thing for me, when I attempted suicide, I was into this really calm phase, and it was like being in water. I know a lot of people say they see a white light and stuff, but mine was like floating in water. And I was accepting that I was going to die. I thought, I've had enough of this life. All I'm doing is working. I've got nothing left. I was at the time, I was 50 years of age, thinking, I'm going to be an old man with nothing. My daughters don't love me anymore because I've been told all these lies. I'm financially in debt now, and I'm living in a room on my own in London. And I was really accepting. I've written a letter apologising to everybody and apologising to the police officers that, yet again, having to come across another dead body. And then I was in this state of calmness, and then my dad came from nowhere, right? And I never used to believe in all of this stuff, like the afterlife. And he's pointing at me and he's going, "You're not coming. You're not coming." I saw I can remember him saying to me, "You're not coming." And then the next thing I knew, I was awake and my sister was at the bedside. It was really weird. Now that, for me, not only does that tell me I'm still here for a reason, but for me, this is one of the reasons. To go through so much, but to be able to tell the story and to tell other people, you can get through stuff. Even at the darkest part, the deepest, darkest part of your life, where you think, what's the point, or I can't go on anymore. These people that love you and these people that will help you. And, 8 years down the line now, I can look back. I'm getting married next year. I never think I'd meet anybody. It's the most loveliest person I've ever met in my life. I never would have thought it. And to be able to talk to you, Tony, and to meet all these amazing people, I'm just so humbled by it, and I'm so privileged to have that second chance.
Here's a comment for you, and a question. I think it's pretty cool. Rachel says, "Have you ever done any commentary or voice acting, Darren? Because your voice sounds really good for that, in her opinion."
Oh, thank you, Rachel. It's because I'm English. That's all it is. Unless I started speaking like this, very posh. But no, Rachel, I haven't. And it's weird because when you hear your own voice a lot of the time, yet again, we're all very what's the word I'm looking for here? When you put yourself down, self-critical.
Yes.
So if I hear my voice, oh my God, my voice is disgusting. Again, it's human nature. We put ourselves down all the time. And I think I did say to Tony when I spoke to him last time that there was a question: name 3 people who you love. And at the end of it, the guy said, and I bet you one of them wasn't yourself. And that is true. We don't love ourselves. We don't give ourselves enough compliments. Thanks, Rachel. I'm not partial for sure. Yeah, I lived in London for a while, but it's not Notting Hill.
I got a question. And I'm looking at all the experience, and again, I'm coming from a place where I'm trying to understand a little bit more about my journey as well, because we talk about the relationships and things like that, and in a lot of ways, I know that the things that I had gone through in my journey in my life, damaged a lot of relationships, right? And I know for a long time, I used to want to blame other people, other females and stuff, which kept me just moving around from, multiple relationships or multiple women. And it was just safer for me, right? To be able to play a victim and go, oh, see, I told you, that she was going to do this and things like that. And I never really took accountability for the damage that I was doing. And I realized that I've damaged a lot, over the course of my destruction.
Yep.
Which made it really difficult for me to be able to connect on an emotional level, because my emotions were non-existent.
Right.
Because I was always in survival mode, right? And so I always had a term that I used to tell them: I am not the one that you want to be in a relationship with. Right. You want to go find somebody that you can raise a family with. I am not him. Because for one, tomorrow does not exist for me. If I make it through today, I have to go out here into the hood tomorrow and face everything else. My days are numbered. So I am not the long-term guy, right? And so it helped me become emotionally detached from a lot of things and not really appreciate the people or individuals that was around me. And again, damaged, so damaged, right? And, here I am now, older.
And wiser.
And a lot wiser, a lot more communicative, right? You know what I'm saying? And things like that. And I just want to ask, did you ever find yourself in situations like that where, like life, your journey in life actually kept you from being emotionally available?
The trust issue. So when obviously the divorce, when she got me arrested, I was like, I don't want to meet anybody again.
Right.
I had 20 years with you and I didn't know you. I didn't think you was capable of doing something so profound like that. To get a police officer arrested, it was done in a hurtful way, knowing that it could either damage my career or damage my relationship with my children. That was the only motive there. And so it took me a long time to get my head around that you can't use the past to define your future. You can't look at one particular individual in your life that can ruin your life. I mean, she nearly did. I nearly committed suicide because of it. But now when I look around me and I look at the wonderful people that are like my family, my sisters, we're all very close. And meeting another person that she's my best friend. I never thought it would happen, Tony.
Yeah.
But I took that chance. I took the risk because, life's too short And yeah, again, it was because of what happened for me. It makes you realise you've got to take chances in life. You can't sit on the sofa all day feeling sorry for yourself. That's the past. And I struggle to keep it in the past. Sometimes it raises its ugly head, and I really mentally struggle with to keep it there. But for me, I'm trying to live in the moment like I'm now, enjoy myself with you and chat with Rachel, but also to look forward to the future. Because, yeah, again, depression is where you're in that state of not moving. You're just in that state because you can't see a way out.
Right.
So for me, yeah, I did move forward. It had a temporary effect on me, but I'm pleased to say it hasn't defined my life.
So that's a beautiful thing. It was just part of the journey. And you know, a quick backstory. So I met Rachel a few months ago, more than a few months ago. And so the logo that you see up here, the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast logo, she actually did that. She does great work.
That's
She's done some
amazing, Rachel.
animations.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. She's done some animations for me, which I'm going to be using at the beginning of the year. And everything. She's helped out with my magazine. She's helped out in so many different ways, you know, and she's been a huge supporter. Every time I come on, she's up here and she's watching and she's
That's
here.
great. That's great.
And I'm very blessed and privileged. So has a lot of other people that have joined us over here on Instagram. You know, have been huge supporters. And I tell you what, it's been good to be able to connect with good people along the journey. So you know, even when times I think when you and I talked, my son's birthday was just coming up December 18th. And you know, we just got done with Christmas, and you know, I have a really bad habit of isolating hard. Like I will go into a shell and not want to come out.
Yeah.
This year I just did things a little bit different. Like I said, I was out doing crisis calls and things like that. Part of the service helped me with myself. But there was a time where you know there was bouts of depression and anxiety, and I want to touch base on this with you. Because I know that you struggle with you were struggling with depression and anxiety, things like that, and you know when did you recognize that you were struggling with depression and anxiety?
One of the features for me, which is exactly what you just said, and that's isolation. You know, I wouldn't even look at the phone for messages, text messages, anything. If the phone would ring, I didn't want to answer it. I just shut myself away. I'm a typical Cancerian, I suppose. I'm quite happy to be in my own shell, but to lock myself away from society in general, just put a sheet over me, and I'd sleep for days. I wouldn't eat. I didn't want to communicate. Obviously, I didn't go to work for quite some time, and yet again, depression is a mean situation to be in because you're actually fighting your own brain. Your brain is telling you one thing, which is, you know, life is, I can't say the word shit, but yeah, life is rubbish. What is there for you? It's like having those two things on your shoulders, one going, no, it's all going to be great. And then you got the depression one, which is clearly stronger and louder, saying, no, just stay in bed. You know, what's it all about? What's it all worth? And I came to the point, it was like, I need to speak to somebody. So I did speak to a counsellor and my GP. And I said to him, look, you know, I'm having sort of negative thoughts. Not to the stage where they was going to take me to hospital and give, you know, put me in a mental institute for rehab and stuff. But it was more like, you're going to need to have some medication if you don't mind taking it. And I was willing to try anything, Tony, just to get me out of this state of just being so negative about everything and crying for no reason and just looking out of the window for hours on end.
Yeah.
To the point, it's just my body was there, but there's nothing else. I had no feelings. I just felt so numb about the whole life. I mean, losing my daughters for me was just, well, I've always wanted to be a dad. That was my main thing. I grew up with a big family, so having 2 children, for me, that was my role in life, to be a good dad and try to be a great role model. So when that failed, then again, that horrible saying, broken family, it was, I hated that word, broken. It was just, it was dysfunctional because of situation with my ex. And the girls had to see it for a while. So depression, I decided to get myself out of it and take medication, seek counselling. And it wasn't easy, I'll be honest. It's not I'm on medication now. Everything's going to be fine. Because I still get days where I'll just wonder about, what it's about.
Yeah.
And this is why I need to have a focus, a positive focus, which is to do something similar to you, where I'm reaching out to people, because by helping others, it makes you appreciate your own life more.
It's very true. And then, I find that to be one of the reasons why I love doing what I do. Um, and I have multiple reasons. But the main thing is, I want to be able to leave men better than what I found them.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them to have to struggle the way that I did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most of these guys, they're really good men. And I want to see them have a good family. I want to see them have healthy relationships. I want to see them have good relationships with their friends and their children, and want some more out of life, right?
Yeah.
And I don't mind. I don't mind sacrificing myself for them, or anyone for that matter, right? Because the world isn't about me. It's not about what I want. It's about leaving it better than what we found it, so that the next generations can benefit from it. And because we only have one life that we live every day. And I would rather choose to live my life in service to others than to be um, selfish with me, right? And not have any sort of expectations out of it, and things like that. Now there are people who have expectations out of me, and sometimes I may not live up to their expectations, and I'm okay with that, right? I told you not to have expectations. Sometimes life happens, and I may not be able to do the things that I need to do, but I will work my butt off to make sure that.
I've got a question for you, Tony.
Yes.
If you don't mind. What made you decide to start this journey for you with the grief? Let's talk about podcasts and all the other stuff. What made you? When was that light bulb moment for you?
The same thing. I had played 3D chess with my friends, because I was planning out my suicide. I had nothing. Right? I had just ended a relationship that I had, long distance relationship, and I moved from Colorado to Rapid City, lost everything again. And I lost my company. I lost my gym, everything. So only to find out that the person I was with was racist, and I came back to Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And about 9 months went through. I am fighting for everything that I can, bouncing around on people's couches, and trying to make the best out of it. Starting to explore the role in entrepreneurship, right? And thinking to myself, I'm not doing too bad. Right? Not doing too bad. I'm still treading water. But something was not there. Like, I was empty. There was no emotion. There was no fear. There was just nothing. It was just, I just was here, an empty shell of myself. And with that, I just said, I'm getting letters of bill collectors coming after me, and everything. And it dawned on me, everyone I love is gone. I mean, of course, I got my younger sister, but she
Mm.
lives in a whole different state,
Hmm.
and I did not ever want her to see me like this. I'm the oldest one. I'm supposed to be a role model, and it's bad enough my friends that I'm around see me like this. And I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. And I said, the best thing that I can do right now is just eliminate myself from this world. So I did. I began to plan on my suicide, and no one knew. But I knew exactly what I was doing. There's just no one caught on to what I was doing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there was people who suspected it, but didn't know how to bring it to me because I would have just denied it anyway, right?
Yep.
And it was that moment of sitting out there in the middle of the desert, 2 seconds away of pulling the trigger,
Mm.
where divine intervention, God, creator, source, whatever people want to, call it,
Hmm.
stopped me. And it came in a voice of someone else that I thought that followed me out there.
Right.
And it was the realization and through that conversation that I had with this voice that I realized that my life had not been about me. I've been alone my whole entire life, but my life was never about me. It was the journey, the experiences from being molested to being a drug dealer, to being a gangbanger, going to prison, being homeless so many times, and even to the point of, you know, taking my life. All of these different things, all of the reckless relationships that I had, I realized that it was never for me. It was for the people that now I serve. It was the understanding. But grief, the thing about it was grief had revealed to me that it had never left me, that I can always depend on it. Although I had a hard time depending on people, it became my comforter.
Yeah.
I had a very intimate relationship with my grief. Like even in the darkest moments, I can find laughter. I can find that love that I so crave from other people.
Hmm.
And it became everything that I needed. It became my teacher. It became my guide. And I began to walk with it. And it just taught me all of these different things, even before I got into it. But it was something that it was one day I was I was sleeping in my car. I was actually in my car by the lake. I was homeless. So, here I am sleeping and I'm thinking to myself, like maybe I can go, it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe I can do some fishing or something like that. I'm not bothering anybody. There's nobody out here. But there was something in my heart that wouldn't let me go. And it was like service to other people. So I began, after that, it was like, man, I can't, I'm restless, right? I'm
Yeah.
restless. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I knew I was supposed to do something. And that's when purpose began to reveal itself to me. And it said, I need I need the men to begin to heal. And I began to question it like, what do you need? What do you mean? I want you to go and find and connect with other men and walk with them. And I said, man, you got to be crazy. You have to be crazy. Me? No. But that spark, that gift, my gift began to show itself, and men started to be attracted, to that beacon. And I would have conversations with these individuals, and the more conversations I would have with these individuals, the more and more the word nonprofit came in. Now I didn't know what I was doing or how to do it whatsoever, but I knew that's what I was supposed to do. And I began to do it. And everything else just kind of laid itself out. Right. And like I said, the first year and a half of it, it was difficult because I
Yeah.
knew was like, I want to connect. I want to do this. And I'm going out here, and I'm an introvert. I'm going out here to these seminars. I'm going out here to these workshops. I'm going out here to these other classes and connecting with people. I spoke it as if I knew what I was doing, although I didn't know, right? And so here I am making all of these different connections. And, and then I got into an office space because I started working nights.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to get into an office space. COVID hit, and that's when everything began to happen.
Yeah.
And so that's in 2021 is when I formed Memories of Us. And then shortly after that, because I'm always thinking, nothing's really working. How can I connect with other men? Right, to have these conversations and things like that, to show that these men are out here, and and this is what we're going through. And that's when my first podcast, Memories of Us podcast, started. It's because I wanted to connect and have conversations with people, and so I did that. And throughout that whole process, I've been drugged through the mud. I've been stabbed in the back. I've been talked down to. I've had people try to destroy me. I've had people tell me, like, you're not going to make it, and all of these different things. And I couldn't believe them. I even talked to other men who had started this, who had started something similar, who had given up because it was so hard. But something about it wouldn't let me go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started taking those extra steps, and then I lost everything again, Darren, during this whole time, I never asked anything from anyone. I never wanted anything. I was willing to sacrifice sleep to do this during the daytime to help provide a space to be able to do this and bring in other people to help do it, right? But no one looked at that aspect of it. They just wanted what I can do for them. And I didn't mind. I'll give you the shirt off my back. It's not like, I'll give it to you so you don't have to take it from me.
Yeah.
And so over the course of time, like I said, even on social media, wanting to connect with other people and having these people close the doors in my face. But I was determined because I wanted to normalize the conversations around death, dying, and grief, mental health, addiction and things like that, because these are the things that I had to deal with. And if you don't know, then how can you show up for me? Or how can you show up for the men in your life?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to bridge that gap. That's it. And I was willing to do whatever. And the whole time, that's how this podcast came about. I started writing programs for people because I saw the blueprint for it and I didn't like it. I said, just use it. Here's a program for you. Use it. And I gave it away to bigger companies. Didn't ask for anything from it. So I never got paid for any of that stuff, right? And then I started talking on other people's podcasts. And then I got the offer to go travel around and go do guest speaking. But that money came out of my pocket. I never got paid for any of these things.
Right.
And so then I started the Global Grief Conference again, just because I wanted to serve the communities. I wanted to showcase and shine a light on other individuals that were out here doing amazing work. I understand my lane. And so I knew to stay in my lane, but I wanted to make sure that people knew that these people were out there.
Well, you did an amazing job, mate.
That's all I wanted to do, Darren. I just wanted to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And then, I helped some buddies of mine start a production company. They decided that they wanted to go do other things. I wasn't mad. Hey, go do you. And so, but that left me not doing podcasting. And that's when I started the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. And I wanted to do things different. I wanted to do live streams. I wanted to have help other people come in and ask questions and join in the conversations and be educated and be able to connect with those individuals, and everything else. And then I wrote a book and an anthology. Big shout out to Nelson Beltajar for giving me the opportunity to do that. And then Angela Lewis, she wanted me to write another chapter in a book that she's doing called When Men Grieve. So I just got done doing that, and then I started the magazine, and so, it's just been it's been a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you something. This is how much I wanted this to work, and how determined I was to get it to work. That and I wasn't going to stop. I built everything that people see right now while I was homeless. And I'm not saying this to be an inspiration to anyone.
Hmm.
I wanted to be an example of, if you really truly want to do something and if you have a heart of service, don't let anything stop you. I built everything that I have, and that you see up until 8 months ago, until I finally moved into my place. And I've been homeless for 7 years up until that moment. And I never once asked anything from anyone.
Wow.
But I wanted, this is how my heart works.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather give to you than to have you take it from me. I would rather this gift that I have is yours. And and I'm obligated to you. I don't want your money. I don't want anything. And I don't want anyone feeling obligated to think that they need to give me anything. But I would rather serve you because you deserve it. These individuals that are coming up here, you deserve to have a light shined on you. You deserve to have people know who you are. You deserve the life that I'm never going to have. And if I can build a platform to give you that, then damn it, I'm going to do it. Because to be honest with you, I'm just passing through. I'm working on that dash in between my birth date and my death date. But I want to make it so that people understand that there are good people in the world.
Yep, certainly are.
So that's how I started this. And the reason why I started this is because I wanted to normalize conversations. I wanted to serve, and to be of service to other individuals, but to let the world know that there's people out here that care.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so the
Totally.
podcast serves as that. It serves as a resource, as conversations, but they can actually go out and reach out to these individuals and get the support that they need and deserve. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's, and through our journeys, through the mishaps, right? You know what I'm saying? To
Because
let
people
people
say,
know that.
Tony, don't they, if you could live your life again, would you? I would definitely say no. I'm the journey I've taken has made me a better person.
Yeah, I wouldn't change nothing.
Same.
I wouldn't change anything. For
Same.
the simple fact of, if I was to change anything, I don't think I would meet the people that I know now. And it's been a long, like most of us, Darren. We travel our whole entire lives looking for good people,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes a long time to meet good people. It took me it took me 40 44 years, 44 years
Yep.
to meet good people.
I've got to say through my career, when you first start out, it's all about arresting the baddies, arrest them baddies. That's all you got to do. But as you go through your career, you realise that some of these people didn't choose that career; they were forced into it, or circumstances that was put in front of them. They had no choice.
Right.
So, like people have to go out stealing food, and there's always a story behind it. Nobody just wants to go out to steal things for the sake of doing it, or home invasions, I think you call them in America. Burglaries. People don't just want to go into houses to steal things. They're doing it for a reason, and it's mainly to live.
Yeah.
But obviously, as a younger police officer, you don't see it that way. You don't look at the bigger picture of why do people do these things. Why are people homeless? Why are people stealing cars and stuff like that? There's always and people that are taking drugs, and why the alcoholics. Their lives have had an impact for them to have to take that road.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I think there needs to be more interaction on podcasts like this, because it can take one person to watch this, and they might think, yeah, I resonate with what they're saying, and I need to get some help.
Yeah, and that's what we are encouraging, right? We're encouraging people to go out there and find the support that you need, right? The most difficult thing that a person will have is finding the right support for them, right?
Exactly.
And so that's the reason. That's another reason why this podcast like this and other amazing podcasters out there that are doing some amazing stuff. It's the reason why it's important to know what you're getting yourself into, so you can make a decision and find what you need out there, and be able to go, okay, well, maybe this didn't work for me. Maybe I go and try this one, right? Don't be afraid to go out there and just find your fit. And then when you get what you need from it, don't be afraid to pivot and go find something else that you need as you grow. The thing about this life that people really, I believe, miss is that we're constantly growing, we're constantly evolving. The most important thing to remember is that we are spirits having a human experience, not humans having a spiritual experience. We're spirits having a human experience. This flesh that we have will go one day, but our energy, the spirit, will live on in different ways. And so have the best experience that you need, but allow others to walk with you during those times when you need us the most, right? Because we want you to. This is what we're called to do. And I love that you said most people get forced into the things that they do, right?
Yeah.
I didn't ask for this.
No.
It chose me. And I didn't understand why, because trust me, there in so many ways, I I still feel as if it's a dream. Like, really, you call me of all people? Are you crazy? Right? You got the right one? Because I can name 100 different people, good men, good women out there that probably will be better at doing this than me, right? And I would rather step back and push these people in front of me so they can. But I'm here and I have my own lane. I'm not bothering nobody. And so, like, it's just like, wow, um, to say that this is a privilege and an honor would be an understatement. This is such a huge blessing. And through humility, I've been humbled, right? To even have made it this far, because without the support of other people, I mean, I still would have did it anyway, right? But it makes it that much more satisfying and gratifying, to be able to give something to people across the world. you know. And we still got people joining in on Instagram. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you guys for tuning in over there as well. And hopefully you guys are still enjoying the conversation. So, but with that being said,
Unfortunately, people, me and Tony can chat forever.
right?
We've just got that connection, I think.
We
The first time I ever spoke to Tony, I was getting goosebumps. And it was a strange feeling, as if like this connection was going to be a good connection.
And it's been good. I mean, and I love that, right? Because of the simple fact of, it allows for the conversation to go and be genuine and have fun, right? But be able to educate other individuals. So I got a question. And I want to get your definition of it. When you think about grief,
yeah,
what is your definition of it?
Wow, that's a good one, Tony. Grief. For me, it's the loss of a loved one that you're never going to have contact with again. So I know spiritually it's different, but to actually have time with them, to sit with them, to discuss silly things or watch a film again, For me, that's my grief. That's my main grief, is loss of family members or friends. I mean, I know grief can come in a lot of ways, but for me, to get by that is really difficult. To have that loss of time with loved ones, for me, is what grief is for me.
I love that. I love that. Now, my next question would be, what does it mean for yourself to come to a place of acknowledgement or acceptance of said loss?
For me, I find it amazing, really, because I didn't think I'd ever get to this stage. I always thought I'd be treading water, of not knowing how to get over it. But actually, you build through, and it's a time thing again. I mean, it's took me 8 years, but to lose and to get over loss, I think, is a time factor. But do you ever get over loss?
No.
I think you learn to live with it,
Right.
and you learn to accept it. I don't think you ever get over loss. So for me, it's accepting loss and to live with it by filling your time with positivity. So for me, loss is. So funny enough, I was listening to a doctor the other day, and I'm trying to remember her name now, but she was saying about time is a big thing in life, where if you can have time for other people is a big thing these days, because we've always got our heads in phones and other, IT stuff. We don't spend time speaking to strangers anymore. I love it. I'll talk to anybody on a train.
Right.
Or I'll talk to a stranger in a shop. And for me, I get over loss by interacting with humans. I can't do it on the phones. I'm more of a people person. So loss, you get over it by your own way, I suppose. For me, I'm getting over it through having the best time of my life, basically. Speak to people and helping other people. I waffled on a bit there, Tony, but I think you understand what I'm getting at.
No, I definitely understand where you're getting at. Early this morning, I was scrolling through another social media app, and there was a quote that came through there, and I thought it was the most deepest, profound quote that I've come across thus far.
Yeah.
And it simply said, and I want people to really think about this for a minute, right? We spend our whole lives gathering people that will show up to your funeral. Our whole entire lives. The people that we meet, the relationships that we have, these are people that are going to show up to our funerals.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking about that, right? Now, because I felt some sort of way about this, okay? I have my idea of when I pass away, right? Most people may not like it, but it's the truth. I will be alone when I pass away, and I'm okay with that, right? This is my wishes from where I would like to spend my time. I want to spend my last moments with my son that has passed away. I planted a tree on top of his ashes. This is my gift to him to outlive me in this world, because I was robbed. I never got the chance to see him grow up. And so I said, this is my gift to him. He's going to live within his tree. He's going to be able to do what he always wanted to do, which was help other people. That tree is going to provide much needed oxygen. But his essence, his soul, his energy will be inside of there. And he'll be able to connect with other trees around him. And I started thinking about that. I said, you know what? I'm going through my phone today, and I'm disowning everybody. No, I know, like the thought came in, I just laughed. I was like, this is just wrong. This is just wrong. And so, I started thinking about that. I was like, wow, man, like at 50 years old, the amount of people that I know, no, I'm not doing that to a public place.
But I do think as we get older, we're more when it comes to friends, we choose wisely as we get older. Hence why I haven't got any, Tony. I
Well, you can't really say that now.
I have colleagues. No, these friends and these friends. I have colleagues at work, but they're not friends. And again, through the divorce, with the kids, we used to have parties all the time. We used to invite people around for the World Cup, football, soccer, as it is over there. And people get together, would have barbecues and things like that. And once the divorce and the split, there's only one family that remain in contact with me through all of that. And I stood back and realised that there's a lot of false people in this world. Actually, when it comes down to it, who's going to be there for you? So this particular couple that have stayed in contact, they're the only ones I've invited to our wedding in July because they've been with me through thick and thin.
Right.
When I was at my lowest time, they kept in contact, whereas everybody else just fizzled away. Out of all those years of partying and Christmas parties and get-togethers, it was as if it was just like you didn't exist.
Right.
And it made me realise that, you need to choose your friends wisely because some are only there for the good times and not the bad.
Yeah. And I totally agree. I can't really say to people that was, that fizzled away. They had every right to, right? I had to go through my own shit. And I didn't mind being alone. I really didn't. I didn't mind being alone. I've been alone for so long that I never really depended on anybody to be there. Hell, I've had people watch me go through some of the most horrific stuff, and they never even, they just watched me.
Yeah,
just watched me, and I was okay with that. I was okay with that. But what it did, it made me a lone wolf. It really honestly made me a lone wolf, right? Just wandering this big, beautiful place that we call planet Earth and having experiences with people. But also, it helped me to understand that one day, at some point in time, everybody's going to leave me.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Because it's not their obligation to walk with me, right?
No.
Or to be with me for long periods of time. I get it. People got their own journeys. They got their own lives. I respect the time that I have with individuals. And I often have to remind people when it comes time and you want to leave, you don't have to fight with me. You don't have to pick no sort of argument with me, anything like that, or make it seem as if this has to be a hard thing. You've reached the next point in your destination.
Yeah.
I have no problems with going on about my way. None whatsoever. It just doesn't. But now I look at the relationships that I built with individuals across the world. And I think about that as well, because I've made some really good connections and I have some really good, beautiful people around. And I don't want, when it's time for me to transition out of this world, I don't want it to be such a devastating thing for them.
Yeah.
Right. So when the time comes, like let me just fade off. Let me fade off. And not have any words, but remember me. And I think when we talk about these things, a lot of people may say that it's a sad conversation to have. I think it's a totally normal conversation to have about these things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't be sad for me.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the relationship, the laughter, the conversations, and things like that, and know that no matter where I go, I'm always going to be looking over you, and I want to encourage you to do better than me in this world. Challenge yourself.
Yeah.
As I challenge everyone, go out there and experience it. Be
Exactly.
creative.
And
Don't
also, I think people don't spend enough time taking in the little things
right.
because you're busy in the like for me now. In fact, it happened for me in 2008 when I had my heart attack. So after that, I really looked at life differently. Like when a tree's swaying in the wind and listening to it, or
Hmm.
April, springtime when the flowers are coming up. Before, did I ever see that? No, I was too busy.
Yeah.
A to B and B to C. I didn't really sit and look at and be grounded and just look at what there is in nature. It doesn't cost
Yeah.
a thing to sit in a field and just look at it, all the different colours and for me now, even buying a coffee, I'll have coffee and I'll taste it and I'll go, oh, that's nice.
Right.
The smell of it, the taste of it, that I'll try and take in as much as I can, so that my life, I'm filling it with good stuff, not material
Yes.
stuff, not
Yes.
not a big flashy car, but to have just the basics that you take for granted all the time. Because, like you say, we don't know how long we're going to be here for, so let's just enjoy it. And if it
Enjoy.
means helping people as well, that's a massive bonus.
Yeah.
You know,
I did a poem the other day and I put it out on social media. It's exactly what you just said, the last of many firsts, right? Now, I put simple words in there, and a person can take that term and you can rewrite it any way that you want it to,
yeah,
right? Whatever it means, whatever it means to you,
yeah,
right? And oftentimes we do take for granted like that cool wind across your face. And it's associated with people who are grieving because when you are grieving, your emotions, you're such in a sensitive state
yeah.
that this is the only time, probably for most, that you really ever experience the long strand of hair that flows across your face.
It's been a
Uh,
long time for me, Tony.
right, hey, the same barber, same look, same. We here now, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we never pay attention to that wind. We never pay
yeah,
attention to the way the water really feels, or
yeah,
the taste of the food that you're eating, or how did your sleep feel? We never, because these things are now taken away. This is when you actually remember the touches,
yeah,
the forehead kisses, the conversations,
yeah.
what it was like when you first got that gift from them,
Hmm.
all of these different things. And it
Yeah,
can go as deep as you want it to go.
exactly.
But keep in mind that these things are to be appreciated, right?
Yeah,
Because they are the last of your many
yeah.
firsts.
Never take it for granted
Yeah,
because
don't take it for granted.
even
Don't take it
even
for
an illness, like even a cold, when you lose the smell of stuff or a taste,
hmm
and you're eating food and you look at it and it could be one of your favourite meals, could be steak, as was me
Yeah.
like steak.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then you think, oh wow, what an anticlimax! I can't taste it, but when you get it back, that taste is just, you
It's
know.
just right.
Yeah, exactly. And,
Just
and,
right,
it's,
man.
and
You
it's
know,
those little things that can make your life more positive. And as you say, with grief, you like if you're tactile and like your son or in my case, my parents, give you a hug, you miss
yeah,
that. So if you can get out with somebody else, just hold on and enjoy it because it could well be your last. Enjoy every day.
you
Be
know,
thankful.
I had that thought one time before, and then a reality set in,
Hmm.
and I said, And this is where people get on me, because I have a boundary up where I won't let people cross. With all the losses I've ever experienced, the only one I've never experienced was loss of a spouse.
Hmm.
And but I have seen the aftermath of that. And I said, you know what? I don't ever want to do that to someone else.
Mm.
I don't ever want to hurt someone when it's time for me to go.
Yeah.
To have them in a state of just total chaos or mental anguish or anything like that. And
Yeah.
so I keep a wall up when it comes down to that. There's a certain way that I won't allow people to interact with me.
Mm.
Women in that way, because I never want anyone to ever feel that sort of hurt behind me,
Mm.
right? Um, I would rather take the blunt of your hurt.
Right.
I
I
would
mean,
rather,
yeah. I mean, I did experience that with my dad,
right,
and yeah, it was bad. I mean, I thought I was hurting bad, but to see him like in the state he was, yeah, it was a memory that, yeah, again, is something else I tried to put at the back of my mind because he was just in such a
it
state.
hurts when you watch
Yeah.
people do that, right?
Yeah.
And if you put yourself in a situation, I get it. But my life is a very lonely one, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with moving through and going from place to place, things like that. I've actually gotten pretty used to it, because it's the way my gift works. It requires me to move and go to different places to be with different people and things like that. I'm okay with that, but I would not be able to die in peace knowing that I've left someone that I truly care about
Hmm.
in a state to where it can possibly do permanent damage to them. I don't I don't think I could I don't think I can live or die with something like that. With
Yeah.
that just that general thought. I want people to be genuinely happy.
Mm.
Um,
And that's your choice. That's
right,
your
right. And,
choice.
and it is my choice, right? And trust me, I get a lot of flack for that. They were like, why would you take that away from someone? Or, like why would you not give someone the opportunity to be able to, you know, experience you? Well, I mean, I
Yeah.
am giving you the opportunity to experience me just in a different way,
Hmm.
right? Um, in a more respectful way. That's all. That's
Hmm.
it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I would rather them be strong enough for the person for the person that they're supposed to be with and have a good life.
Yeah.
Um, I just know, for me, I've seen too much hurt and I've seen too much pain, and I carry a lot of that with me after I leave people because I would rather them give it to me than to carry it with them. They have a better opportunity of having a more fulfilled life in that aspect if that's
Mm.
what they so choose. You
Yeah.
know, um, as they always say, I know why I'm here.
Yeah.
Right? I know what my purpose is, even if it doesn't make sense to other people. I know why I'm here, and I refuse to hurt anyone else because of my own selfish wants or needs.
Yeah.
Right? So I have to discipline myself. I have to respect myself. I have to respect other people. So yeah, that's it's part of the journey. It's part of the journey. And I'm not asking for people to totally understand it or even, be able to wrap their head around it. It's okay, right? You know, um, I just want people to be genuinely happy, find your success, find your path, explore it, be creative, go out into the world and make a difference. But most importantly, to pay it forward, leave people better than what you found them. Have no
Yeah.
expectations. Only expectations that you should have is yourself, and never lie to yourself about life. Life is honest. It didn't promise you anything, but it did say if you work hard, you can have what you want. But you're going to definitely have to work hard.
Yeah. Exactly. And going back to the grief and the loss, as an individual, we all experience different ways of dealing with it, but also the time given to not get over it, but to accept it.
Yeah.
Some people, it can take, they'll choose a career where they're working so hard. That's their way of dealing with it. They're not actually accepted it. They're just working so hard that it's like a distraction.
Right.
Where for me, I couldn't do that. Mine was to grieve. Pretty hard, to be honest, when my parents died. But for me, that felt better to get it out of the way, and it got easier. And now I can talk about it. If I spoke to you 4 years ago, I'd still be upset about it.
Yeah.
But yet again, the more you talk about your grief and your loss, this is me again. It's an individual thing, isn't it? The easier it is for me to feel accepting that I'll see him again at some point.
Oh yeah.
In a different life.
Yeah.
But I'm here, and I'm here for a reason.
Yeah.
And
again,
positive.
When we find what the best possible spiritual experience that you can have in this world, that is also individual, right? You know what I'm saying? Like for me, it's going to be different from someone else, and so forth and so forth. And I think that's an amazing thing, right? And the way that we contribute to the world is how we experience it.
Exactly.
And so, don't criticize the next person for how they experience having their experience, right?
It's just like fingerprints, Tony. We've all got individual fingerprints.
Yes.
That's
just like snowflakes.
That's a proper policing thing there for you.
Right. It's just like snowflakes, right? You know what I'm saying? Fingerprints and snowflakes is all individual.
We're all individual, and we all deal with stuff.
Yeah.
But with support, the support's always there for people.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, there's always support for people.
It's always,
and that's what matters. Support. And even if you go through one counsellor, you might try something like you said. You try different things that fit you.
Yeah.
One size doesn't fit everybody, so you could go to one counsellor and think, well, that wasn't for me. But then I might go to a life coach, or I might even just go down the route of going to a gym because you're getting endorphins and you feel good because you're getting fit. And there's all different ways, of tackling it.
Oh yeah. I say we leave that up to the individuals to find their path and walk with them as they go.
Exactly.
With that being said, we can talk forever. You already know this, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's nearly 2 hours, Tony.
I know. Loved it.
I'm sure the people listening are thinking, "Wow, how long are these two going to carry on chatting for?"
Oh, we can carry on forever, right? You guys already know the conversation that we have, and you guys are still hanging in there with us. So, I can tell that you are having fun with us. You're still listening, and things like that. But you guys help me. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah.
And Darren, I want to say thank you. It was such an honor and a privilege to have you on the show to share your journey, your knowledge, and your wisdom with us. And for everyone who's been tuning in, thank you guys for tuning in from Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. You guys already know, and for your continued support as well. And now, before I let you go, Darren, if you could leave the audience with something, what would you leave them with?
Hope. There's always hope. Never give in, and look forward. Always look forward to what's coming in your life. And that is it.
Thank you, Rachel. It's truly amazing. Like I said, she's been a huge supporter of me since the first time that we met on Twitch, and she's helped keep me alive a lot, right? So, good people are out there.
Exactly, the good people out there, and I love your side at the back, Tony. Amazing.
Yeah, like I said, Rachel did all of this stuff over here, so I can't take credit for any of that. She does amazing work. So big, huge shout out for anybody looking for some work, reach out to her, please. You know what I'm saying? And I got some animations that you guys are going to see coming out in the new year that she put together.
Yeah,
And
thank you, everybody that's been listening. Thank you, Rachel.
yeah,
for your
most definitely. Most definitely.
All right, Tony.
Yeah, most definitely. So thank you, Darren, for being up here. And before I let you go, how can people get a hold of you if they want to hire you for something?
Well, at the minute, Tony, obviously, this is for me. This is a new ball game. I mean, you are the master at it. So at the moment, because of the job I'm doing, I'm not on social media at all, because I'm not allowed to have any social media. So this is an ongoing issue for me. But I retire in a year and a half, and that's when I will really get into it. But in the meantime, I'm going to study for counselling and life coaching, and in the meantime, hopefully share some more time with Tony.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So if anybody wants to chat, though, hopefully Tony won't mind coming through you, if that's okay, Tony.
Yeah, most definitely. Guys, reach out to me. I get a hold of them for you.
All right, then emails and stuff, and then take it from there.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, this ain't the last time. Like I told you before, I will stalk you if you try to get rid of me. So
no, I don't mind that. I don't mind
man,
you
got a friend for life, and I definitely appreciate
Likewise.
the connection. For everyone else, thank you guys for tuning in. This is going to wrap up this episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. But do me a favor, if this is your first time tuning in, head on over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. Now, if you find that this can be a bit heavy, but you know someone who can benefit from the conversations that we have, do me a favor, just share it along with them. They don't have to subscribe, but go in, listen to some of them, find the support that you need and deserve, reach out to them. The podcast serves as that as well. And with that being said, you guys, we've had a lovely conversation. Look forward to having plenty more, and we're going to see you guys in the next episode. All right, you guys enjoy your day, and be happy. All right, be happy. New Year's coming up. Peace.